So how do you deal with pests?
Pests?
Yeah.
Oh, like wallabies. Fence them out. Make sure that there's enough country slash to give them enough green feed so that they tend to look for their own feed rather than coming hunting our stuff. Caterpillars, generally we try and get down the plants once a week or once a fortnight, or when we're hand watering is often a good time. In these dry times we hand water because we're conserving water, and as you're walking down a road with a hose, it's very easy just to look down into the top of a kale or something like that, and you'll soon know if there's a caterpillar there. Either there's some holes where edges been eaten off the leaves, or there'll be a pile of green caterpillar shit down the middle, and then it only takes a second, and then you'll find a caterpillar, and you just squash them, and leave them there as a message to the others, not to lay any more eggs there. And weeds we mostly brush cut. We brush cut the pathways between the crops. We use an awful lot of mulch. We have a mulch harvester that goes on the back of a tractor, so whenever we've ploughed up a bed that we're going to plant in, the first thing we do is we pitchfork down a very thick layer of mulch because that holds the moisture in, but mainly it suppresses weeds. And then you just dig a little hole in the top of the mulch and put your seedling in, and then close the mulch back up around it. And that way, your seedling can grow on straight away without having any competition from weeds, and it means we're not out there all the time weeding either.
And so are they the only pests that you have?
Yeah, caterpillars in the winter, I suppose. On things like kale, sometimes you'll get a little bit of rust in a sorrel or something like that, but generally that's when it's dry time and the plants are stressed. If they're stressed during a dry time, then often they'll get a little red spot on them somewhere, which seems to be a bit of a rust that they get when they're stressed, but not really. I mean, the other thing that we do is we just don't grow plants that aren't going to thrive here. When we originally came here, we wanted an orchard, and we had peaches and we had plums and we had a whole lot of those sort of things. And of course, they just brought in fruit fly from all over the place, which stayed. And then the fruit fly wanted to get in and eat our cherry tomatoes. So we made the decision in the end, thought, well, this is really silly. So we chopped down all the stone fruit tree that were attracting the fruit fly, and we haven't really had a problem since. So part of it is not trying to persevere with something that doesn't want to grow here. And you can tell pretty quick. I mean, you put all the seeds in or put cuttings in or whatever, and in that first year, you'll have a pretty good idea. If 5 out of the 20 plants do really well, then it's probably worthwhile taking seed off those and going again the following year. If there's only one plant and none of those ones do any good, then you're either unlucky enough to get a really bad batch of seed, or that plant just doesn't want to grow here. It's either too hot or too cold, or too wet or too dry. And sometimes you're just better off to cut them loose. If they're just making too much work for you because you're having to look after them all the time, you're better off to cut them loose and go and find something else that can cope with these circumstances a lot better.